Hello, welcome to the Word Cafe podcast. This podcast has been designed with curated content that centers on the power of words. Can we really do anything without speaking? Can we really do anything without the agency of words? Yes, that is what this podcast is all about. And I am your host, Amakri Isoboye, your neighborhood word trader. I believe in the power of words, for it is the unit of creation. I trade in words to profit my world.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything. How are you all doing? Oh, beautiful. We're back into that space. Did we ever leave? Maybe not, but we're back. And you know how we do it when we come into this space. Yes, this is where we come to lean on one another's experience to forge a positive path. Welcome to the Word Cafe live show. How are you doing? What's it like at your end? Where I am, it's been, pretty cool, as in slight showers here and there, and the weather has been, what I say, nice, nice. Yeah. Not too hot, not too cold, just there. Whoa. So we're back. So what are we going to be doing today? Yes, you're seeing it on the screen, the benefits of indigenous intelligence. I have someone. How do I describe her? Yes, it's a she. How do I describe her? She is somebody who has embraced that thing that she knows is a gift God has given to her. What is that? Intelligence. And she has somewhat, walked on it and brought something about. It's all about her. Her name is Akugo. When she comes on, she will do more of introduction of herself, and I'm going to tell a little bit about her. She's into finance, and she just made the 2022 100 as in Power Women 100 list, I think. Yes, enough of my talking. I know. We have a lot to talk about. Let me bring her on. Where is she? And there she is.
Hello.
Hi, Akugo. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's great to be here.
Technology tried making us not to have this time today, but somehow we're here. That tenacity and keeping at it is like we're going to solve the problem, and here we are. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Perfect. So where are you at? What's it like at your end?
I'm here in Lagos, Nigeria, and it's pretty calm. Just the usual Lagos hustle and bustle that we're used to. Nothing
you
new.
Call it you call it usual. It's unusual for some of
usual.
us.
for we in this part of the world is usual. So we're doing well. Good. Thank you very much.
Perfect. So now, who is this wonderful Akugo? Who is she? I always tell my guests, fine, I can do the introduction and all that, but I allow my guests to introduce themselves because the truth is nobody knows you like you. So who is Akugo? Hi, are you there? Okay. Hello, Akugo. I lost you there for a bit.
Hello,
I can hear you.
Hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Fantastic. I can hear you as well.
All right, then.
Okay, so who is Akugo? I think that was your question.
Yes.
That was your question, right?
Yes, that's a question.
Do you know, I actually have struggled in my adult life. That's the one thing I struggled the most with, because when you're like a multi-potentialite, it's kind of the worst question you can be asked to answer, because but I found a way to encompass what it is that I do and who I am, right? So let me put it this way. I exist to bring people to the realization and to their awareness of their own power in their own knowledge and in their own abundance and in their own ability to create.
Wow.
Right? So in that regard, I can express my mission in different ways. So in the corporate space, I work in development finance, where I share knowledge and learn from different cultures, different organizations, how to do things better. In my personal development life, I encourage knowledge exchanges with young people through scholarships, through fellowships outside of your locality, because I think that's a necessary skill to have. And I also really am passionate about upskilling and reskilling Africa for global relevance, right? So everything I do is centered around these things. That's it. So wherever you see anything that has to do with making people understand that they are not here by mistake, and yes, you can, and that's my son.
Oh, I understand. That's the age. Yes, that's the age we're in. I perfectly understand.
So everything I do is centered around that. I'm not about this life where you only get and take what's handed to you. And we have the ability to create the future that we want. Yeah. And the younger you are, the younger you are, the more opportunities you have to do that. So that's I say that's what I do, and that's who I am.
No. Looking at what you have said now is like, I would describe you as someone who sees the unseen and makes the unseen seen, more or less. You know how to like capture that thing, that you're not just here by chance, you're here by design. But listen, the design shouldn't go to waste. You just have to put the design to work, Now, what is it about native intelligence as an indigenous intelligence? Because a couple of things I've read about you focus on indigenous intelligence. Can you school us? What is it about indigenous intelligence?
Okay, I think this started around about, my mom has always called me an old soul, sort of. So I've always been around much older people. And so I found that my life has been sort of like a bridge between old and new. So maybe that's where I learned the skill of being able to link things that people ordinarily do not link normally. Yeah. And one of those things is indigenous knowledge. And the whole concept of indigenous knowledge for the longest time was said to be unimportant, especially in this part of the world, in Africa. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But if you look around the world, it is the countries that have held on to and developed their indigenous knowledge that are reaping the benefits. That's why you have Chinese restaurants in every country in the world. It's indigenous knowledge. Chinese cuisine is indigenous knowledge, but they found a way to market it. And yes, 1 second.
No problem. Please attend to him.
Yes, go ahead. No problem. Go ahead.
It's okay. Okay.
This is the home office, so this is what you get.
Yeah.
Interviews in your
working
office.
From home.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I was talking about Chinese food and how that is a result of how indigenous knowledge packaged well can be sold to the rest of the world. So I'm always careful because I don't want it to be. It can also get transactional where you just take the knowledge from the indigens and then they don't benefit in any way, shape, or form. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about ways that as a community, there's a way they do things, there's a way they conduct their business, there's a way they have certain values. And that informs how they do the things that they do. And from that, you can actually pick one or two things and find a way to make it work for you wherever you are in the world. So that's the power indigenous knowledge has. Let me give you another example of indigenous knowledge or indigenous intelligence in the practical sense, right?
Yeah.
So my work is in development. So there are times when work takes me to the hinterlands, like it takes me way out of the city, right? And way out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Now, there are places that you can use Google Maps and you'll be fine. There are places that Google Map can take you to and you'll be totally lost. You need an indigene to say, this road is a road, but you can't pass through there because there's a ditch that's 6 feet deep on that road. You have to go this way. So there's actually a road there, but the locals know that you can't access that road, right? So in my line of work, I've come to appreciate the knowledge of indigenes of a place a lot more, just because of the kind of work that I do. And I've also found that our problem in this part of the world, I think, is the fact that we do not really know how to articulate our value to the rest of the world in those terms, which is why I started writing the articles that you've seen on LinkedIn and all of that. So it sort of puts a picture in your mind and says, well, this thing, it's common. It's something we did, my grandfather did in the village, but I didn't think it was anything serious. I just thought it was the way they did things. Well, yes, it's the way they do things, but it can also be helpful to humanity, right?
Now, it brings me to the next question. From everything you've just put on the table now, what I hear is there's a way to package something that is presentable and acceptable, that even an onlooker or a bystander, a passer, or whoever goes through that path would immediately have this connection to it. Now, considering where we are, our locality and our environment, how can we repurpose, package that knowledge and present it to the world that's on that global stage that it will be appreciated?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history, we also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
To be honest, I think we just need to start appreciating it ourselves.
Okay.
Because these things show. It shows to somebody when you're trying to sell them something you don't use yourself, or when you're trying to just sell them a product but you really don't believe in it. It shows. People have natural instinct to those things. I'll use the Chinese food example again, just for
emphasis.
Yes, for emphasis. So, for instance, if you go to a city in the United States, or let's just pick New York, you will find a Chinese community there, and there's probably American outlets and other kinds of outlets around there, but you will be definitely, like, it's 110% sure that you will find Chinese herbal stores. You will find Chinese local cuisine. You'll find a Chinese traditional store that has everything Chinese, because that's what they use on a regular basis. That's what their life is about. So they can't live without it. So they start using it themselves because that's what they do. And then from from using it yourself and being at home with it and appreciating it, you'll not know when you start talking about it. It's like when you have a really nice pair of shoes and you're like, these shoes are so comfortable, they're fantastic, I had them made in Aba and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I mean, 3/4 of the time people are looking for comfortable shoes that are affordable, so they really don't care where you make them. But if you do the work yourself of learning to place value on what is ours, so simple things like, you know, buying Nigerian fabrics, or buying Nigerian made bags, or buying switching your brands. There you know, hiccups here and there, because, you know, it's not always easy being a startup in that sector in Nigeria, anything production and the likes. But start from there. I mean, it's a process, but it takes time, but it's happening, right? So we're seeing that more people are now trying out some herbs that their grandmother showed them, that pregnant women drink, you know, to give them, to make their tummies flatter. We're trying stuff like that out now. A few years ago, people would have been like, no way. That woman was just plucking things from the bush. I don't know what she was plucking. I was not interested. But now we're seeing that what is available is not necessarily what there is. It's not necessarily all that there is. Let me put it that way. The only problem we had was that, you know, from the colonial era to, you know, pre-independence and stuff, a lot of that information was not stored anywhere, or even if it was stored anywhere, it was destroyed. So a lot of our indigenous secrets and intelligence was lost along the way, right? Or made to seem irrelevant. So we're having to go back and dig deep and try and figure out, and connect the dots. And we've seen that, look, everything is coming back to Africa. The way we farm, the food we eat. We all used to have farms at the back of our villages, at least in your local village. Everybody had a farm. It wasn't, you know, this whole large-scale agriculture thing just came as a wind and swept even the small farmers away. But now we're trying to get community farms back on track. So you can see everything is coming back to what we usually would have done in the very beginning. So it's to our benefit right now. The whole point is, it's to our benefit right now to start looking at our ways of doing, no matter how old the systems were, or no matter how many years ago it was. It's important now that we start asking more questions about how we used to do things as a people, as tribes, as communities, and see how we can, you know, we have the advantage of technology and innovation now. And in addition, we have the advantage of people who have gone outside of our shores to see how things are done, how businesses are developed, how startups are funded, right? So this is all a good thing. So we can use all that information to our advantage.
Hearing you say this now, what comes to mind is storytelling. You know, you know, back then growing up, we sit on the moonlight, you know, my grandma and
around
the fire, and they tell us stories. Now the question is, how do we bring back those days? Because now everybody's sitting in front of a laptop, carrying an iPhone, carrying whatever. How do you get the attention of the children and begin to tell them those stories, and more, not just in English now, going into that your indigenous language to explain these things? How do we achieve that now?
The question about how do we go back to those days is we don't. The point is not going back to those days. The point is getting the information out. So it's two things. We have the information and we have the distribution of the information.
All right.
So the information is what we need to what needs to remain untouched in terms of its authenticity, right? So if we have this authentic information, the channels of distribution have changed drastically from our parents' time. So our parents' time, the channel of distribution was around the fire. Now, the channels of distribution are TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, live shows like this, right? Books on Amazon, books on Kindle, online ebooks for children. So it's already happening where an example is where you have storybooks that have Black children or that have African settings, or cartoons that are set in Lagos or set in Kenya or set in, so those are the kinds of things that we can work towards. And I do know that there's a lot going on in that space right now. So it's just to keep doing that, creating awareness. And we need to break down the barriers that we have built between institutions. We need to collaborate more. I think I've written about what possible collaborations in one of my articles on LinkedIn as well, where I said, centers of African studies that have a compendium of this information, right? They have long hundreds of years of historical information, can sit down and say, okay, which of these is economically viable? If we can tweak it in one or two places, which other agencies can we work with? If it's something in agriculture, can we have like a cross what's the word? Like a workshop or some sort of system where
more or less a hybrid.
Yes, like a hybrid kind of learning exchange where these two agencies work together and just brainstorm and come out with a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan. It's not something that you will get results the next day. It's not that kind of, knowledge is like that. When it's intangible, it's not like a product that you put through a machine and comes out at the end of the day. That's not how it is. I mean, that's how it is. But I mean, you get what I mean. It's not a short term. It's not a short term goal, right? Which makes it really difficult to push a lot of times. But that's what we need to do.
Sometime last year, I was reading. I've done one or two researches on this now. The word in CBD. The markings and all that. I try to trace it and all that, the origin, where it came from and all. So I and my wife went out somewhere to just have coffee and all that. I ran into this store, the name here in Abuja, the name of the outlet is Asabara. And I saw in CBD, and all of a sudden I just like, do you guys know what in CBD is all about? They said yes. And somehow they've been having this local village storytelling like activities, like shows where they gather children, adults of all ages and all that, and they just tell the stories. And you can imagine the excitement, within the minds of these children, how they just light up like when they hear this story. So just portraying what you said now. But I think, like you said, distributing this are what I call a product or service, to that level that even the people on the street will begin to appreciate it. That is one of the challenges that we are facing, So the question I'm going to ask you now, because from what you said, your work takes you to the hinterlands and all that. Is there any structure like that, more or less like to search for those things and to like link A to B or B to C and C to D, something like that, to create that ripple effect? Is there anything within your purview to address that?
It's something that as a, like I was saying, when you're talking about pushing knowledge, it's almost like kind of pushing a certain type of education. It's almost like building an educational system is what you're trying to build, right? So you have two options: to build a parallel educational system to what already exists, or to try and integrate it to what already exists, right? Obviously, the easier option would be to integrate it to what already exists, right? Be it as perfect or imperfect as it is. And the ways to do that is one of the ways to do that is to maximize whatever community structures there already are, So if you have, say, in a community where you have a village head or you have a community head and they have town hall meetings and all of that regularly, you can use those forums. That fora is, those kinds of spaces are perfect for things like that, because when you call them, they will come, because it's the head of the village calling them together, right? So what agencies on the other side can do is find some sort of common ground where they can start from. So if it's in trying to get them to farm in a particular way, and mind you, when I say like indigenous knowledge, right? I also mean that the indigenes of maybe Borno can use the farm practices of indigenes of a village in Kenya or Uganda. That's what I mean. So it's not, it doesn't have to be local to that particular, local doesn't have to be like local. It has to be from here for us to use it here. We can actually exchange information and say, oh, my soil is not that great, but if you try it, it might work on your own soil. So if you try it here, it doesn't work, but try it over there and see if it works, that kind of thing. So you can do it within communities that they already have systems that work. Even no matter how small the gathering is, if it's a small gathering and somebody is in a position of authority, that's the person you need to get on your side to get this information out. And then another thing we need to avoid is trying to solve problems that we think are there rather than the real problems. So most times
imaginary problems.
When you're doing development work, you can get carried away and say, I'll give you an example. I had a friend, a Ghanaian friend I met in one of the conferences, one of the workshops, I attended, and he said he was visibly upset, and he was like, look, we did all this work, we built this high-tech, well, not high-tech, but really well-equipped school in this community in Ghana, and we launched it and it was perfect, and nobody went, as in they're struggling to find students to go. And at the back of my mind, I was thinking, then that was not the problem of that community. Somebody did not ask the right person the right question.
The question.
And you went in knowing that education is important, definitely 110%, but is it their pain point at that time?
At that particular time.
Maybe what they needed was a source of water closer to home so that the girls don't have to trek 10 kilometers to fetch water. But now you've built a school and the girls still have to trek 10 kilometers to fetch water and come back. And by the time they're coming back, it's late and they have to go to the farm. So they still can't go to school because you solved the problem that was perceived, not the real problem. So those are some of the things that we have to consider. So connecting with the communities at their level of social engagement, whatever level they're at, meet them there. Don't try to mess with their system. Don't try to say, no, you guys need to move to an office to have it. No. Nothing like that. Whatever they're doing that's working, use that and start from there. And then slowly but surely we can graduate them to a certain level where maybe there can be like a zonal office where it can grow from there. And sometimes it doesn't need to. Sometimes it can just work within the community and it's fine. And you'll find ways around. It grows organically. But the important thing is to start the engagement.
But what I hear you say, it shouldn't be sudden. It should be transformational. It should, it should be transformational in the sense that it's a gradual thing. This is what works for them. Okay, fine. I want to take them to the next level. It shouldn't be a jump, from one excited level to another, but rather now you build what you want around it, and gradually you talk them into that position.
Jumps don't last, especially in communities where you have ways of doing things that have been passed on from generation to generation. You just want to wake up one day and because you have a bright idea, now
And just-
change it does not ever end well. I mean, even if you're able to get a few people on your side, there will always be that backlash. And rather than solving problems, you're dividing the community between between those who are for and those who are against. It's so unnecessary. I mean, let it grow. It's almost like let me give you another example.
Please do.
I've had so much experience. I have examples everywhere.
We're all here for that.
So let me give you another example, because sometimes when you it can be abstract. Right? So let's say that there are villages in also Ghana, because they seem to have structures that have started working in that way. So most of my examples are from there. So you can have a community of women who are they work on shea butter plantations. Like they have farms, and they farm the shea butter seeds, the shea butter nuts, right? They are not. They do not aspire to own a shea butter factory.
Sorry for cutting you. For cutting you.
Yeah.
Is it you're trying to explain a video I saw recently of a shea butter farm? So in Ghana, they have another one in East Africa. We're trying to look at the species and all that. I think I saw a video like that recently.
Yeah.
The women are just using the traditional way that they know of processing shea butter. Please go on.
Exactly. They are not messing. Look, don't mess with the process. Like, leave, especially if it is the indigenous way of doing things. Just sit and watch. Don't try to teach them new ways. Don't try to modernize it. No. You can modernize the processing part, which is where private sector investors, exporters can come in, the government can come in. But don't try to now take them to school, give them this whole, make them wear a particular uniform, and then they will be in the school from this time to this time. They were born doing this thing. So they grew up on the shea butter farm, on the shea, this is their home, right?
This is their home.
There are communities like that have agreements with. So what happened is the community says, look, we're not interested in what you want to do with the shea butter once it leaves, right? What we know how to do is to get it from the farm to some sort of semi-processed state where you can now use it for cosmetics and food and all of that for export, right? So what's happened is, I forgot the names of the agencies now, but there are certain agencies that have come into direct agreement, or there are certain cosmetics producers who have a direct agreement with both the trade agency in the country, right, and the community, the farming community. So obviously there will be a representative from the farming community who is dealing with all of these people. But at the end of the day, the connection is there, right? But it is working because they are not messing with the process. They are not trying to change the indigenous ways of doing anything. They're like, is this how you do it? Yes. Will it come out with this consistency? Yes. Probably they might say, okay, we want it a different consistency. Can you help us do it this way, and that? That's fine. But not to change how they do it. No. That's not going to work. At least start from where we are. You can now start introducing different ways of, upgrading to make it faster, maybe with their children who are also learning the trade because they've seen it's profitable. Another thing that this does is that it allows young people see that they have a future in this business. So even if it's an indigenous skill, as long as it becomes more profitable and people see that they don't have to move to the bigger city and they can earn as well, more people will be having family-run farms that are running from generation to generation. That's another way to keep indigenous knowledge going, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's a perfect example.
Guys, Oh my, we've been discussing with Akugo. I mean, the way she's breaking down the subject of indigenous intelligence, or more or less indigenous knowledge, you like with me, it's fun. It's fun, embracing your own, and from that your own, you create our own, giving out and all that. Beautiful, beautiful. That story, or rather the examples you give, drives me back to the story of David with the sling and the stone, when he wanted to go against Goliath and they dressed him in all that. He said, no, I'm not used to this. I can't kill this guy. I can't bring down this challenge in this costume. I just need to be myself. I need to feel, that thing, And what is that thing? Sling and a stone. Just let me be. And we all know how that story ended. Now, I know you're busy. Thank you for this, taking our time to do this with us. Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you this question because I saw your name on this Power Woman list for 2022. So what does it feel like? What is it like?
It was actually humbling because sometimes, to be honest, one doesn't go out saying, well, I for one, I can't speak for anybody else, I don't go out saying, oh, I'm going to do this work so that I can be on the top 100 list of A, B, and C. I think it can be distracting, but it is actually a fantastic feeling to know that my work is important, and this is all expressions of my work, both my book, the trainings I handle, where I encourage people to seek opportunities abroad. That's from personal experience. Everything I do is from personal. It's really from an authentic place. And I think that's why I'm most grateful, is the fact that everything I do is born out of experience or born out of something I've learned from somewhere else. And I've just made it a point of duty to teach somebody else. So when I learn, I teach. And then I learn some more.
I like that. When I learn, I teach, and I learn some more. It's a channel, the channel. When there's a channel, there will be a flow. And when there's a flow, there will always be another flow. That's what I'm hearing from what you said. Amazing. Amazing. So where do we catch Akugo if we want to catch her? Where?
That's the $1 million question. I am pretty active on, if I were to pick, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Okay. I share different kinds of content on the different platforms because I think my audiences are different. My audience on LinkedIn is mostly work development, articles, indigenous knowledge, of course, and things like that. So it's more of that. And then on my Instagram, my handle is at Akugo Inc. So at AKWUGOINC on Instagram. There I talk more of, life in general. More on scholarships, traveling, learning from different cultures. You'll see a lot more content on that on my Instagram page.
Beautiful. We want to say a very big thank you for taking out this time, to come share a piece of you, just like you said, I learn and I teach so I can learn some more. So, you just taught us now. I know you're going back to learn some more so that when we call you again, you would unleash, that on
definitely.
us. We want to say a very big thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm so appreciative. I before we had this session, we'll be going back and forth, and somehow today I told myself, no, we just need to get this done because there are people out there who need to hear what you have to say on this platform, within the Word Cafe, and we are grateful. Thank you. I said the last question, but I'm going to ask you this one more.
One more.
Yes, one more. Forgive me. So how do you relax? Yes, your kind of work, your kind of person. How do you relax? Family life and all that. How do you get that?
how do I relax? I'm pretty low key. I mean, how do I relax? I actually like to take times off when I unplug from everything and everyone. Because my mind works really fast, and it's always working. Like I'm always seeing connections where people are like just walking by and not noticing things. So sometimes my mind can go into overdrive, and I literally have to stop and switch it off. Like I have to take those breaks. So what do I do? A lot of times I take myself out to new places. I like to explore new places and experiences. Probably a new, I don't know, spa whenever I can. How else do I relax? And then I just snuggle with my children, watch a movie that we've watched a zillion times or something, and jump around the parlor and be a child again. I love those times. So I think one of the reasons why I stay fresh in mind and spirit is that I make it a point of duty to retain my childlikeness. I'm childlike. I'm not childish. There's a difference.
I like that.
Yeah, that's one secret I have. I learned to just, stay curious, stay positive, stay happy, and just remember how I was as a 10-year-old, and usually it works out well.
Amazing. I am not childish, but I love being childlike. I love that. Because within that space, your imagination is just endless. Your creativity comes alive.
Exactly.
And the burst of energy is just all over. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. Well, I know my audience, they are hearing that, and come on, you don't have to be childish, but listen, there's no harm in being childlike, because come on, that's where you get all the juices and all that.
Exactly.
Thank you guys. We need to let her go now, but honestly, you will agree with me, this 25 plus minutes, it's been amazing listening to her share those wonderful ideas, simple but profound, and I know we will go practice these things. Thank you so much. I have to go now, but you know how we say it when we come within this space. We lean on one another's experience to forge a positive path. That is what the Word Cafe is all about. So till I come your way again, bye for now. Akugu, what do you have to say? Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Before we sign off, I just want to encourage you. Yeah, it's been a wonderful time. And also, I'd like to hear from you, your feedback. You've been listening to the Word Cafe podcast. I would love to hear from you, the feedback. If you have any questions, you go ahead and ask those questions. You can reach me at my email address, amakrigaribaldi@gmail.com. Amakri is AMACHREE GARIBALDI and we'll get back. You know how we do it on the show. Thank you. Arts and Time, it has been with you on the Word Cafe podcast today. Thank you for being there. You can catch me up on my social media handles, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all at Amakri Isoboye. Also, you can get copies of my books, A Cocktail of Words, The Color of Words, and my HRO notebook on Amazon and on Roving Heights online bookstores. You can also subscribe to my YouTube page at the same address. Yes, till we see you again. Bye for now.